If you look here behind me, you can still see quite a few people. They're gathering, getting ready to go on this search. But I want to bring in one of Kiely's close friends. Her name is Sami Smith. Sammy, thanks for joining me. What can you tell me about the turnout so far this morning? I know there was about 100 people here earlier.
Yeah, so we posted about this on all the social medias last night, and apparently it got a really far outreach. We have a lot of people who've texted me saying that they're still on their way. They're coming after work. I've told people that I will be here all day. So a lot of people are trying to join us today to try and find her. Probably over 100 people by now.
I'm just going to comment on how odd I find it. Well, I guess it is Sammy we're talking about, but just the fact that she's saying that people are texting her to let her know if they're going to be searching or not. So, right from the get-go, it wasn't just the teen talks, it was her encouraging, I guess, people to text her to let her know if they were going to be searching. But something that has bugged me all along about the media footage from this particular day, the number of people that are basically just hovering around. There's no urgency. They had a 16-year-old child missing, and yet what I see in this image alone is a bunch of people using it as a social gathering. Why are people just hovering around and not finding out areas where they can be searching and then heading off? Wouldn't you expect to see people go and sign up at the table and then walk off again? Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I would expect to see serious searchers act. You go in, you sign up for the search, you get instructions, and you head off, because you never know where that 16-year-old child is, and you never know. I mean, this was still early in the game. Was no one concerned that maybe she was somewhere injured and that finding her quickly could make all the difference?
I know you were telling me you were with Kiely on Friday. What was the last communication you had with her? When was that, and what did she tell you?
So at about 12:36 a.m. in the morning, I saw a call from her, and she called me. I was on my way home from the party, and she was supposed to give me a ride home, but I had already told her I didn't need a ride home. And I answered it, and she said, "Hey, where are you? Like, do you still need a ride home?" And I was like, "No, I already told you this. Like, we're all good. Like, I'm in the car right now. Like, thank you so much." And she was like, "Yeah, of course. Love you. Good night. Like, I'll see you tomorrow." And I was like, "Hey, love you. See you tomorrow. Be safe." And then after that, nobody has had any contact or sighting of her.
First of all, when she's saying all this, she sounds like someone who has memorized a speech and they're making that speech. And it's this and this and this. But also, it seems a little inorganic. She starts by saying, "I saw a call from her, so she called me," which, that's bizarre in itself. Which is it? You saw a call from her? Because saying "I saw a call from her" to me implies that you had missed a call. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I would see it. Because why would you say that and then say, "So she called me"? It's saying, you're either saying the same thing twice or you're contradicting yourself. Either way, she's adding unnecessary extras to her narrative. And to me, that does seem odd. The other thing that seems inorganic is that she brings up the phone call first, and then she backtracks to, she was supposed to give me a ride. So it's like she's trying to remember the points that she's got to make rather than remember events that have actually happened. If you are talking about events that have happened, you are going to say those events in a sequential order. So I had arranged to get a lift with her, but then I didn't get a lift and I was riding home and I got a phone call from her. It's interesting when you think about it that this particular speech, she pretty much repeated it almost verbatim for Tony Dodge, but she fixed the problems with the timeline. So when she did it with Tony Dodge, she still tripped over herself, but she was like, well, I'd organised to get a lift with her, and then I decided I didn't want to get a lift with her, and yada yada. So then I was on the way home, and I saw a phone call from her. So it's almost like she's refined her narrative after this initial interview. The other thing with this interview that really stands out to me is the amount of times that she uses the word like. And in my experience, when a teenager is giving you a narrative and they start throwing like in all over the place, it's because they haven't quite got the full narrative there to give you. He was like, well, he said this, and he was like, he said that. By saying like, they're saying it's kind of like this. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd love to hear what other people think. But the fact that nearly every other word out of her mouth, when she was talking about her being in the car on the way home and Kiely ringing her and she was like, where are you? Do you still need a ride? And she was like, well, I'm like, yeah, like. To me, it seems like this part of the narrative was particularly problematic for her. So why was it problematic for her to be saying that Kiely rang her at 12:36 when, hey, we know that the phone was already dead at 12:33? So that already brings things to question. So the fact that she is then coming up with this whole narrative about being in a car as a passenger, although in this interview she doesn't say that, but she's like already on the way home, like, and then Kiely like rings her like. To me, it is very problematic, and I think, I mean, we can be pretty certain that she's lying here anyway, but all the likes, the multiple likes, to me reinforces it.
So it's been complete radio silence. Her phone has been off. Her location isn't on, and nobody seems to have reportedly even seen her after 12:30.
So in that bit there, she's sharing verified facts, things that have been said by law enforcement, and she only said like once, and that's when she said her location was turned off. You could argue that saying her location was turned off was an involuntary pause because she didn't want to mention the fact that Kiely's location was turned off on her phone. Perhaps she knew from the very moment that Kiely's location was turned off that had occurred. That said, if anyone can verify for me when the first time it was that either Lindsay or law enforcement said that Kiely's location had been turned off, I'd be interested to know, just to be sure that this was public knowledge at the time that Sammy happened to mention this. Now, something that I missed in the last section that I need to go back to right now, when two things. First of all, her saying, love you, good night, or reporting that that's what she said to Kiely when we know that they weren't friends. So we know straight out that that's just a load of bull. But the other thing is, she claims that she said to Kiely, see you tomorrow. And Kiely was like, yeah, see you tomorrow. But we know that Kiely was planning on going camping the next morning with friends. Now, you can't tell me that Sammy was amongst that small handful of friends that Kiely was going to go camping with, because I call bullshit on that. So I doubt very much that there was any intention of those girls seeing each other the next day, had the narrative that Sammy given us actually been a true account of events. And remember, in terms of the camping, she was meant to be meeting her friends at 9 o'clock the next morning. So it's not like there would have been an opportunity for her to catch up with Sammy prior to going out camping with her friends, especially not after they'd been out to a party the night before.
So.
And you know that she's familiar with the area, right? She's not
Yes.
like she doesn't know how to navigate the roads and things like that.
Yeah, no, she's driven out there multiple times. She's going to go camping out there later that day. She has lived in this town for pretty much all of her life, so she knows this area like the back of her hand, just like most of us do.
Now, to me, that is one of the most important parts of the many interviews that Sammy made. Here, she is admitting that Kiely has driven out there multiple times. And we know that for a fact. We've heard from other people that she used to go off-roading in the area. And she's also said that she knows the area like the back of her hand, like we all do. Also note there's no likes thrown into the narrative there. There's no awkwardness about this narrative. She's telling us a fact. Yeah, she has driven out here multiple times. She knows the area like the back of her hand. And the other thing to note here is that she verifies what I was just saying. She wasn't going camping with Kiely. She wasn't going to see Kiely the next day. She says she was going to go camping out there, not we were going to go camping out there. So that immediately calls into question her earlier statement of, I said, I love you and I'll see you tomorrow. Because they weren't going to see each other tomorrow. So, to me, that whole narrative about her last conversation with Kiely is definitely bullshit. But I did want to remind people that when they were trying really hard to push the narrative that Kiely must have been abducted, they were all saying that she couldn't have possibly gotten herself into trouble in her car because she knew the area so well. There were other people saying she wouldn't have been so drunk that she would have got herself into trouble. She's a super experienced driver. That whole part of the narrative was being pushed when they were pushing for it to be an abduction. And then as soon as people started to realise that it wasn't an abduction, and then as soon as her car was found, all that got thrown out. And suddenly, Kiely's a bad driver who got drunk and drove off the road.
We've seen people come here and split up into groups. How late can people come? Is there plans to do this again tomorrow? What areas are you guys searching?
Totally. Yeah, so I'm going to be here all day. If you see somebody with a shirt that says Find Kiely team member, or my name is Sammy, so anybody can find me. We're going to be out here all day looking for her. I will be here. We have a registration thing. We're trying to look in all areas around here, even going down to San Francisco if anybody's willing to go down there. She could be anywhere in the country at this point. So we are just trying to cover everywhere.
Okay, did you note that she said, I'm going to be here all day? In other words, she wasn't planning on going out searching at any point in time. She also said, look for people wearing a Find Kiely t-shirt. So obviously, none of them ever had any intentions of going out searching for Kiely. It's actually kind of funny because she doubles down on that. She says, we're going to be here all day looking for her. So they're going to sit in their little hammocks all day and look for Kiely from their hammocks. It also seemed really awkward to me the way she suddenly added in the bit that she could be anywhere in the country by now. Almost like she suddenly realised that the interview was nearly over and she'd forgotten about the narrative of Kiely being abducted, and she remembered that she needed to throw that part in for emphasis. She could be anywhere by now, so we're looking all over the place. Don't forget, this is a girl who has done plays, she's done drama, she's clearly quite accomplished as a speaker, and yet she has these times when all of a sudden she struggles with how she is conveying information.
I guess,
and we are doing another one tomorrow.
Got it. Lastly, I mean, what do you want people to know about Kiely? What kind of person is she, and what's your message to her if she happens to be seeing this?
Kiely is just such a bold and outgoing girl. She's always down to do anything you'll ask her to do. If you asked her to go cliff jumping, she'd be like, I'm on it, man. Like, I'm down for it no matter what. And she's always smiling. She has probably the best laugh I've heard anybody have, and she has a really pretty smile. And if she's seeing this right now, I just want her to know that me and everyone, we're all doing everything possible to try and find her. We are looking, we are searching, we are texting, we are spreading the information, we are talking to everybody, we are doing everything we can to try and find it. I will never give up. Even if I have to leave at some point, I will cancel that so I can stay here. I'm not leaving until I find my friend.
Sammy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start with the look on her face, that grin after she's said, I'm not leaving till I find my friend. Clearly, she thinks that was a pretty smart comment to make, and well, to me, there's a bit of duper's delight going on there. What do you think? Anyway, asked about what Kiely is like, and she's like, oh, she's so bold, and she likes cliff jumping. Have we ever heard anyone talk about Kiely going cliff jumping? It was just all this random stuff, yet again, that shows us that she doesn't know Kiely. And then when asked what she would say to Kiely, she's like, I want her to know that me, and everyone. So she's starting to shimmy away from it being on a personal level. She starts saying I, but then changes it to me and everyone, and then we are all doing everything possible. So straight up, as soon as she hits on everyone, it's we're doing everything possible. She's distancing herself. It's not about what she's doing or what she wants in relation to finding Kiely. It's about the communal we. And of course, having already admitted to the fact that she's basically spending all day sitting around at the rec centre, she's then talking about, well, we'll all be looking and searching and texting and spreading the info and talking to everyone. Right. Spreading the info and talking to everyone. So you mean you're going to be doing what we've seen you doing in the many, many presses and sitting there messaging people on your phone or taking phone calls and dashing away from the presser to talk to people on your phone. Now the last part is interesting too. She starts with I will never give up. So she starts trying to say I'll never give up, but obviously for her even that sounded far too disingenuous. So she changed it to will never give up. But then she went, even if I have to leave at some point, I'll cancel that. That is not good grammar. Maybe I'm just being a grammar Nazi. But I would expect, if she genuinely meant it, for her to say, even if I'm supposed to leave at some point, as opposed to even if I have to leave. Have to leave, to me, shows there's no other option. She has to do it. So then it's a contradiction to say that she'll cancel it, because she can't cancel it. She has to do it. So, and I am going to note that at the same day that she did this interview, that was when they were also doing interviews with Mags, and there's that interview of Mags and her standing side by side, or Mags and it might have been a few of the other girls standing there doing an interview, and Mags was like, you know, I'm not going to stop till I find her. So my question is, did that interview occur before Sammy did this interview? And Sammy went, yep, that sounds really good. I'm going to take that for myself. Because she doesn't sound genuine to me. When you say, even if I have to leave, I'll cancel that, it's a contradiction. And also saying she's not leaving till she finds her friend. That's curious, because I'm not sure how she's going to find her friend by spending all day, all week, sitting at the rec centre. So there's quite a few contradictions in this speech. And I think this is probably either the first or the second speech that she made. I'm going to cover a few more of her speeches or her interviews, so we can have a look at the differences between them. The next video that I'll do has got a few shorter ones put together. There's one of her, not the Tony Dodge one, but the other one of her in a car. I've salvaged as much of that as I can, and also when she was indoors at presumably the rec centre. So I'll do an assessment on that next, and we can have a look and see what the difference is between this interview and those interviews. Anyway, please leave comments below. Let me know what you think about this interview in particular. And also, if you are not a subscriber, I'd greatly love if you could hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. It just helps me to grow my channel, and it helps me to be able to continue to cover cases like the Kiely Rodney case. And I would be extremely grateful also. So stay tuned. There will be another video looking at Sammy's interviews coming very shortly.
Into